What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 44 of my Total War Warhammer 3, a modded, not Grimly Quarrel Seeker, Thorgrim Grudgebearer Old World campaign. So as we saw last time, the northern World's Edge mountains have been more or less secured, and another legendary grudge has been struck out. Retake the Realms, Part 1. Part 1 is surprisingly far away from our capital, so it did take us a little bit of time to get up here. But at the end of the day, technically speaking, it's only turn 113. But anyway, with that complete, we have another underway location unlocked, and we're about 2 settlements away from at last linking up the northern holds and the southern holds as well. And yes, technically the northern World's Edge mountains are southern holds, because everything south of Karaz-a-Karak is southern holds, right? Right. Anyway, we had a big long turn and last episode, so we are not yet probably through this particular turn, since it was all battles that time around, though I don't imagine anybody was complaining. Anyway, let's get to reclaiming Allenhof. We'll have Tree simply occupied. Okay, I was wondering whether it would just crash, because you can't do anything about that. Oh, do you want to uncollect the income and build this up before we transfer it? Malachi McKayson, you're going to ignore this caravan. You're going to occupy Drurgen Morten. Keep moving this way. I'm really hoping that we can develop these things quickly enough so that we can... Okay, I could have quick saved that one, but didn't. Quickly develop this place so that we can trade it for the final territory we're looking to get out of our Kislevite friends. It would be really, really nice. Anyway, Reclaimer Helldower, one of many Reclaimers, and oh, you're in range of Festus, eh? Festus has a good defeat rate. We could save him. Frankly, he has a very weak army. Do we save him for a proper lord? I guess who's... I mean, I would like to get Ungrim here, but it's gonna take a while to get him here. I'm almost tempted to let Carl take him out, because Carl will be able to get a lot of good use out of his defeat rate, and frankly, he needs all the help he can get. Well, you know, we'll wait here for a turn, we'll see. I want to see if Festus starts moving this way. If he starts moving towards Rosefells, we'll just have Ungrim take his defeat rate, but if he doesn't, he doesn't. Anyway, Azrael, you have important things to do. First of all, you will declare war upon whatever these guys are, Lamian Sisterhood. I actually knew that. Then we will have a rearguard half-hand occupy the Vale of Bones with a quick little auto-resolve, and hopefully not an insane amount of damage to the Frost Worms. Okay, half HP in terms of damage. Perhaps I should not be surprised. Alright, Talisman of Preservation. Can ignore all that. Alrighty, and then... Oh, you didn't actually keep any of those items. Oh wow, you have like all the items. But anyway, Azrael, what I would like you to do is switch to encamp stance and then start moving towards the Silver Pinnacle itself. You can actually no, go here. Oh, you can't reach it. Oh, I should have stopped here. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. They may have 3 stacks there, and we may be damaged, and they may have even more elites at the Silver Pinnacle, but I guess it'll be a nice big battle of a preview for the reclaimed Hold Grudge, or the Sealed Tombs Grudge, or whatever we're calling this one. Should be fun when we get to it rather shortly. Anyway, let's see what else we've got here. Oh. We can upgrade one of these, because Silver Pinnacle will be going up to tier 5 anyway. Let's upgrade, I'm going to say Vale of Bones, because it's kind of bordering some orcs, and who knows. They might declare war and attack us, as insane as it would be to even attempt it. It's orcs. Alrighty, now, I suppose Thorgrim will take whatever that place was. We can have you, I guess, grab Tower of Neborhest. I would perhaps prefer that you didn't get a plague, but after grabbing this, we'll see how many of the other territories nearby are Nurglite, but it might behoove us to start moving down this way, since Thorgrim's coming down here anyway. And quick save, I didn't forget for once, and then occupy. Man, I always love seeing the organ guns there with all of that veterancy on them. And just hope that we can get a nice... I guess, additional battle against the Nurglites here, since I guess this army has technically fought one. But anyway, scrap mine for you, Tower of Neborhest. I guess we're keeping this particular territory, since this is South Badland Hills, and Nagral Migdal is a key dwarven settlement in the hills where they hate it, because reasons. Anyway, No, I'm not gonna drop it. Morgan's Death Dealer. You... Well, I was originally having you avoid going up to Eyebiter Hold because it looked like the ogres were advancing there, but apparently Ingreases cannot be trusted to do so, so we'll deal with it ourselves. To Eyebiter Hold, sir. Auto-resolve. And occupy. Fortunately, occupying minor chaos settlements or minor chaos territories is quite simple because we... Okay, I don't think Jamak Doomtamer is next, but let's just move him. And because they have garbage defenses here, especially the Chaos Stars. Oh, don't hurt our sleds, please. Don't do it. Game. Huh. It did. It killed off... I see, they took like 1 HP in damage, and every single one of them lost one of their sleds. A quarter of their sled power. Hopefully the repair will heal them. Or the heal will repair them, whatever. Okay, it did. Let's see if it does it a second time. Unresolve. And it's gonna kill 2 sleds this time? No, still 1. But that will leave it nicely repairable. Healable. Whatever. Or actually repairable, yeah. Berrybone Fort to you next. And Pyrrhic Victory. Oh. Really? Pyrrhic Victory? Okay, fine. We will besiege the place because this army has no siege attacker. Ah. Well, there's really nothing in this army that we can remove. I was gonna put a Thane or a Runesmith in, but maybe it would be better to just put a Thunderbarge in. It's slow, I will admit, but it will give this army the ability to besiege settlements since we don't have siege attacker, which it would be admittedly nice to have, you know? Anyway, Brock Ironpick, you... I besieged this turn, right? Yeah, these guys are all full HP. I was like, wait a second, did you not... Did the Skaven not sally out against the giant pile of miners? Because that would be disappointing. Alright, who's up next? Oh, that was Brock. Reclaimer Silverhorn, you can start... That's a question. The army is decent. I would actually like you to move to Grungzint. We should actually claim this just in case or before Bretonnia comes up here because we actually want that territory. And can't have the mountains that we deserve be held by others. Morgastrenger, you... Alright, Iron Slayers, you guys are, I guess, going to advance into the center of the Massive Orcal now. There's no other territory surrounding here that's full of Skavens, so... Can you jump up here, possibly? No, alright, fine. Just go as far as you can and then jump up to Orcamont afterwards, which is ironically named here because it's full of rats, not orcs. Alrighty, anyway. Morgastrenger. Jamak Doomtamer, we have besieged with a Joseph Bugman. Now, what do we have here? I guess we could take this place. I was actually thinking of looping him back around because Kazarak's down here, and somebody has to fight Kazarak. Might as well be Bugman's caravan. And just gotta... The only problem is every single auto-resolve battle hurts his army quite a bit, but no, there isn't too much we can do about it. Look at that. Look at that. And the fact that it hurts Bugman's Rangers instead of the Slayers is really strange, isn't it? Am I crazy? But shouldn't it be hurting the Slayers more? They run at 74 frickin' move speed. They're faster than anything except light cavalry, at least on the walking units. It's insanity. And I love everything about it. Though they can't really take too much advantage of it here because Bugman slows everybody down because he's a guild master with 32 move speed. But if Bugman wasn't, you know, too drunk from sampling all of the beer, too, you know, you gotta sample the beer to, you know, brew better beer. And then the caravan could move like lightning past him because everybody else moves super quick. Well, basically it's all the heroes that slow everybody down except the gyrocopters. But anyway, in an emergency, I suppose it's a possibility. I should really just manually fight the next fight so that he doesn't get so badly damaged next time. But anyway, he will... Well, no, I was about to say venerate the ancestors here, but it wouldn't really help us because you won't stay in the territory anyway, so it will hardly matter. Anyway, let's see what else we've got here. After Bugman, I mean, that was Brock. I'd really like to end the turn because it'll enable us to get to that massive fight at the Silver Pinnacle and possibly the also massive fight at Skavenblight. And proceed towards explore the island, and proceed towards the auto-resolve, and proceed towards the whatchamacallit. You know, the whatchamacallit? Jarnagrund? In case that was unclear. Oh, wow, we got materials at sea. We absolutely don't need it, but lovely. I wish we could transfer the materials at sea to one of our allies now. I don't think I've ever said that before. Anyway, Herrick, I guess you're continuing to go down the river. I'm still thinking we either send you down here or loop around, but you got a bit of traveling to do. Stay in, I was about to say stay in controlled territory, but it's all controlled territory here, so you're free to travel. Oh, you can also march stance, most likely. I can't tell whether that actually allowed you to go any further or move any faster, but looks good. Keep going. We'll level him up when if he gets into a proper fight. I really doubt Oshrik the Bloody will try him. He'd be kind of insane too. Oh, I keep checking Brock because he still has all of his movement. Morik Grimtide, son. Alright, Grimtide. You've got a long way to go, but go down to that desert and keep traveling like this. Alright, hopefully you can go into March stance now and speed yourself up a little bit. Mournguard Stonebeard, you're... I'm almost tempted to send you out here to the rocket test site. Who knows what's out there, but you know what? Let's try. Oh, go to the edge of this territory. We'll try it just in case the defenders there are poor. It would be nice if he could take those without us having to send another army here. And since he's not doing anything, you know. Story Azrael, you did have a rather nice fight last time against these guys, and I think you should be able to wipe out their remnants. With a quick little auto-resolve, go for Contagica. And you're still waiting for the special quarrelers, the Regiments of Renown, the Grudge Settler quarrelers. You think I'd automatically remember the name, considering how long this campaign has been by now, but no. Man, this guy has a lot of movement range, or maybe it's just this particular territory. You could go after Hallscurry, or you could go to Grouse. It doesn't really matter. This guy did just I mean, maybe we do this. Maybe we have you kill Hallscurry, then go jump through to Mount Zardel, and then maybe link up with Tehenwan, who could sort of hold the edge of this territory. Maybe we'll do that. Frankly, since you're waiting for the rest of your army to arrive, you're still, Alright, this guy. Oh, we could have you two attack this together, perhaps, if you can actually reach it. Let's find out. That would actually be helpful, because it would allow Bernoth Barak to continue southward without wasting any more movement, which would be really nice. Alrighty, and you can repair, heal up, whatever. Let's see, are you in range of the Valley of Windmills? Indeed you are, sir. Well done. Alright, that was a good decision. Good job, Ruinous. Alright, quick save and then auto-resolve. Alright. Good. Very little damage. I mean, either one of these armies attacking it alone would have taken very little damage, admittedly, but that should hardly be of any surprise. Ally mission successful. Oh, wow, we had a lot of missions for that. And we're good. Alrighty. That was Story Azrael. Who's after you? I assume you're here somewhere? That was Brock Ironpick. That was... Story Azrael, alright. Ulfar Norgrimling. Okay, now you, I believe, yeah, there's a little tiny Morikamas of the Scourger army here. You'll wipe this out with a quick little auto-resolve. And then you'll heal yourself and then keep heading southwards to continue killing these guys. Obviously, that's not worth your attention. You will go here, heal up to full, hit Drunancool. You gotta get to the Tower of Grief as well, which will probably destroy the faction because they will no longer be able to, build any proper military stuff. Once we do that, Ulfar Norgrimling. Alright, let's see if I can... Oh, there we go. Found you quickly this time. Old as Hellhine. You will move towards this one territory that we really need to occupy and hopefully be able to trade to these guys. I really don't want to attack Ashiotla, but... we'll see. We'll see. You have a lot of stuff to deliver, so get to delivering. Morgrim Skolson, I would like you to actually move up here. Because, well, if the Wood Elves start attacking us, we'll need to be able to deal with it. Fairy Ironpick, you need to trade units with Kazran Grimbrow, but I feel you can't reach him here, so head to Lucini and then sit there for a turn. Maybe in regular stance, but whatever. Reclaimer Helldower, you will keep reclaiming with your... pile of hammerers. But again, since we don't really care what these reclaimer armies... look like, because they pretty much never get fights. It's just for auto-resolve purposes. Alrighty, there we go, Reclaimer Helldower. And frankly, there'll probably come a point, like once we take all the Imperial territories, where we'll delete half of the Reclaimer armies, because they won't be needed here anymore, and that'll ease up on the admin at least a little bit, assuming we get that far in the campaign, which we'll see. And I am so sick of this bloody Shadow Gore herd. They're sitting there, and the faction isn't dead, I checked, and there's nothing we can do about it, because we can't find them. But what can you do? Oh, actually, wait, maybe there is something we can do about it. I have an idea. Alright, Ruinous. We are going to... Oh man, I wanted somebody who is already summoned, somebody who has a decent trait then. I don't like Rune Master, I don't like Unyielding all that much. Oh, the Master Rune of Speed cooldown isn't horrible. High Lord, Cross Country, and Rearguard. Man, I don't like any of you. Anybody coming back next turn? This guy is. Alright, we'll get this guy up and running next turn. I figured we get a Lord here and then use him as bait. Maybe these guys will come out and die. That would just be fantastic. Anyway, Reclaimer Red... No, Ulfar Dammon? Why did I just skip a bunch of units? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, Ulfar Dammon, you guys... Alright, so you guys actually have two things to do. You're going to go into March Stance, you're going to head close to this place, Ulfar Dammon, you're going to go into Ambush Stance. I want to see what Mr. Zatan the Black is doing down here.
Grudges will be settled.
Like so. Alright, and Ulfar Dammon should be all the way at the end, somewhere right before this army. Muster the Throng is at least easy to find, because it's just full of Dragon Slayers. Stachel Gundrickson, you can't reach one of these places since we haven't... I mean, might as well. I mean, you're here. Get a free little bit of XP. I wouldn't want to waste profit, and we'll find Emmerich eventually. I feel he's probably moving north towards our undefended territories, but... I mean, we're probably not going to be able to hit him any faster with this, so yeah. Actually, do collect the income here. We're probably going to keep this territory. And delete, because it's kind of contiguous with what we've got here. I was hoping that the scout would at least spot him, but... Alright, well, all good. Let's see what we got here. Otherwise, Reclaimer Drakebeard, you are done here unless I'm mistaken, so you're going to move to Porta Major. And you're going to get ready to sail away. To continue reclaiming the rest of the rat lands, because we don't want them anymore. Alright, Reclaimer Drakebeard, Reclaimer Stout Peak. You... Oh, right. Forgot about this. That's gonna kill one of our Bugmans? This is gonna kill one of our Bugmans. Alright, screw it, I'm just gonna... I really don't want one of the Bugmans to die, but on the other hand, let's just do it, whatever, I don't care. Alright. Occupy. Obviously not a battle worth fighting. Despite what the game was implying here. Build military structures, and you actually should build military structures as well, because all of that needs to be traded away. Alrighty. And oh, this army isn't even supposed to have all these Bugmans anyway, so remember we were supposed to split that off into a stalking, sniping army, which I never got the real chance to do. Anyway, I guess you can go claim Karoberg. I'm just wanting to make sure that the Imperials here don't get overrun by Khazrak and Malefics, especially since they've invested in all these territories now here. Make sure that they survive. Still fixing all the Umgi messes, aren't we? Hopefully, eventually, they'll be able to stand on their own 2 feet. Reclaimer Redbeard, you are pushing this way in order to try to move towards Beacon of Ferengrom. And Tech Thief. I don't even remember if we had any left. Oh, I reset you to join an army, but yeah, I did. Wait, no, I didn't. Oh, I guess you just died thieving. Alright, go reset yourself then. And when you come back, you can actually join an army, simply because we don't have sufficient engineers to be everywhere at once. Mountain Fast, you're kind of in the same situation. You're supposed to join one of these guys, and I'm pretty sure it was Mr. Grom Ironpick, unless I'm mistaken. No, Kazran Grimbrow, yes. Alrighty, and you were the last. Alright, that means as soon as this guy stops moving, we can end the turn. And we should be able to have some fun end-turn battles. I'm really, really hoping that this guy comes out of Skavenblight. And you... Oh, you got 1 point. Yeah, you can get Flow of Battle. Oh, wow, you don't have Obstinacy. Yeah, whatever, you have Flow of Battle now. And then you, Thane. We'll need all the points we can get here. It's going to be a very dangerous fight. You have Rune of Grimnir, which is important. I guess let's get you another point in Hero of the little extra bit of XP on the miners. Maybe helpful. Let's hope that they sally out, and more importantly, perhaps, let's hope that we survive. Outpost available. With Pavona. Oh, right. Now we can ignore that. Skip, and turn. Alright, you know what, I was really thinking about whether we should actually fight this or not, and I think we will. I know it's one army, and I know I said that we're at a point in the campaign where we want to fight generally 2 armies, but Alaric Ranulfson's army was supposed to be a Reclaimer army. It's poorly buffed, and it isn't really built out. It doesn't have heroes, engineers in particular, to buff everybody up, and, I mean, it just looks like a good fight, doesn't it? And especially with the severe damage on the Longbeards, most of them have 36 troops-ish. Like 30% of their HP. They've got mammoths, they've got chariots, they've got lots of monstrous infantry, and I think it'll be a fun one. Go. Alrighty, here we go. We may have vengeance. Let's actually see. In theory, the enemy has a significantly stronger army than ours, and we remain damaged from a last, well, a lot of resolve. But anyway, we'll see if we can pull this one off. We do have a decent position up on a hill with our flanks at least protected, though the enemy can move around this little lava pit, or whatever you want to call it, and get around us, and generally speaking the AI does like to do that on this map. Still, this will enable even our damaged Longbeards to sort of hold the line, and hopefully allow our Quarrelers and our Throwing Axe Rangers to do some damage. Now we're going to start by focusing down the big boys, the biggest of the boys, the Feral Mammoth with our Quarrelers, our units of Bolt Throwers. Now we've done about a quarter of their damage to it, but obviously these are not buffed bolt throwers, and they're not going to take nearly as much damage as we otherwise might be able to do. Alright, here comes some chariots looking rather slow as they make their way uphill and starting to take those axes. And they do manage to get their charge in. It looks like the chariots drop to a quarter of their HP, however, and the mammoth quickly follows suit. Now look at the high arcs on those axes, smashing down upon them and forcing the chariots to rout. The mammoth has arrived, and our Lord Alaric Ranulfson moves in to try to deal with it. Gets knocked to the ground, but keeping the feral mammoth busy. Ooh, the enemy pops a Crown of Command on the feral mammoth, which prevents it from routing. And that does mean that it'll be brought down, but that also does mean that it fought a little bit longer. In the meantime, the enemy lord has arrived together with a cohort of chariots and skinwolves, where our lord will hopefully have to meet them. Our rangers are going to have to move into melee a little bit to bolster the line, as we simply don't have enough of our units of throwing axe rangers on the front line. Does look like some of the enemy are starting to get through over in the rear, as well as at the very least the toads and the centaurs are just pushing right through the melee troops here, trying to ignore them and move into our back lines, which is a smart move, even if it is slightly annoying. And going to have to allow our rangers and quarrelers to work on the centaurs and such in melee combat. But that's the beauty of having hybrid range that are decent in melee. Looks like the last of the enemy flyers, the plague drones, death's heads, are melting away. We've been focusing them down for a fair bit now, as they've been quite annoying. And I was a little bit worried about them actually touching down upon our range units and tying them up. The bounce power has shifted to about 60% in our favor. Of course, Ezra Doombolt Doombolt is still firing away at us. And I do believe he can do a fair bit of damage at range, but at the end of the day, he'll rout when his army routs, if his army should rout. We can see the Longbeard HP is now severely depleted, and that of the Dwarf Warriors from the garrison. I guess they started extremely damaged, but nonetheless. Alaric's still trying to bring down the enemy Chaos Lord, who's down to about half HP now. Beasts of Nurgle are still fighting in the midst of this, and yeah, at this point it's just a matter of how many units we can chuck axes at, and well, we've also got a lot of our axe throwers tied up at this time. Still, they're working reasonably well here. They've brought down many a beast, many a monstrous infantry unit. They are getting kind of beat up by this unit of Pestigors, though. Not for long, however, as I hear the horns, and... actually, I wonder why we heard the horns here. The balance bar is not yet shifted in our favor, though it is starting to look like it will begin the enemy lord, and down to about 20% of his HP, we summon the ancestral shield bearers upon him to trap him, and a few more bonks should bring him down. There we go, the Doom Bolt's still coming in and bringing units down as the enemy lord attempts in vain to escape this. I hope in vain. One more bonk. Alaric, please, he's right there. Don't get trapped. Oh no, alright, come on, there we go. There's that bonk we were looking for, and with that, the enemy lord goes down, the bounce power shifts further in our favor. The Beasts of Nurgle will be the next target. They've been fighting for a while, but fortunately, though they are very tanky, they don't do a crazy amount of damage, so just keeping them tied up should suffice. And suffice it did, as the axes now start flying towards them and bring them down, as they are the last unit remaining in the fight. We took severe damage. Several of our rangers, in fact all of our ranger units except this one, nearly got destroyed, and even this one was at 50% of its HP. A very close fight. Alright. It's the nice thing about having some of these sort of armies that were originally meant to just auto-resolve and takes minor settlements. When they get into a fight, they can bring us some pretty tough battles. I love it. Alright, that was a pretty solid battle for Alaric Ranulfson, and yeah, I guess he does deserve to get a proper army. The core will still remain, the Rangers' great weapons in combination with the Longbeards, because I like the combination. Maybe we swap out the regular Quarrelers into Bugmans and then give him a few better artillery pieces. The combo is nice. I've been really liking the Rangers with great weapons in this particular campaign, so it's a good excuse to use a few more of them. I gotta be honest, I was not expecting this ambush to succeed. I did not think that Zatan was anywhere near, and this may be the only time we ever see him, so we'll do the ambush. Honestly, there's a decent... Oh, he's in march stance. Oh, Zatan, you poor thing. Maybe he heard about what we did to Gorth the Cruel and is now marching quickly back to Zharnagrund. He is the commander, the overall commander after all, and Gorth's best minion, but Gorth is dead, and the tower is soon to be fallen. And good luck, Zatan. This is probably the last fight you'll ever get. Alrighty, here we go. It's an ambush battle, which is a fairly decent bit of a rarity, but I think this one does amuse. So, here we go. We have deployed all of our Iron Drakes to begin firing, fire, at the enemy's column in mid-move, specifically in the middle of the column where most of their goblins are deployed, as they don't have fire resistance, and thus should be very vulnerable to this particular attempt. We've got the first of our units blasting away at Zatan the Black, though I fear that they won't be able to bring him down. The Iron Drakes are being guarded by our Longbeards, and our units of Iron Drakes with Troll Hammers are deployed at the rear of the column, where they will fire upon the enemy Skullcrackers and the Dreadquake, together with the Organ Guns, which are behind the enemy line, and all trying to bring the Dreadquake down. Enemy is going to get at least one Dreadquake shot off, and even the single shot is probably likely to do a fair bit of damage. The shootout has begun as we trade fire with fire. And is that a Dreadquake that's coming down? I think it might be. So, oh no, it's a... I forgot what this ability is called. Well, it's a piercing bolts of burning, but I think it's a bound ability that the enemy has as well. Not that that matters. Or maybe it is just regular piercing bolts of burning. Well, either way, it hurt. And the units of Thunderers and Drake Guns are pretty badly damaged. The enemy blunderbusses are ones doing the work, but fortunately the enemy Skullcrackers and other units have at this point been destroyed. Just got to make sure that we got to bring down those blunderbusses, and we're working on them fairly well as the organ guns switch fire to them. Unfortunately for us, the enemy is not only blobbed up, but being forced to blob up even further by those shotgun blasts, and those poor units of blunderbusses and get obliterated. Zatan's down to about 20% of his HP, but is forced to fight our Lord and Thane together with his Sorcerer. A little bit of 2-on-2. Kind of unfair that the enemy get those big old mounts and we don't, but what can you do? While our units of shotgunners attempt to back off while the enemy Chaos Dwarf Warriors give chase to them. Zatan down to about 20% of his HP, most of his warriors at this point now destroyed. Another piercing bolts of burning going to come down on this poor unit of Iron Drakes, though luckily it is one of our units that has a massive amount of fire resistance. The enemy rear column has at this point fallen. And now, just a matter of time. We also do have reinforcements coming in, but it's an ambush, and we're not using them. So, yeah, just keep the battle interesting, I guess. Few more shots from those Grudge Rakers. Fortunately, they can fire in melee, and hopefully they can take care of the Dwarf Warriors. It is always quite entertaining to see the Grudge Rakers fire away at point blank into an enemy's face, though. Well, not sure giggle. And it looks like these guys are just about done for. Zatan is escaping on out of there. The other unit of Chaos Dwarf Warriors, though they did manage to damage the Thunderers with the Grudge Rakers a fair bit, are out of there as well. The enemy Bale Taurus, or regular Taurus, no, that was a Bale Taurus, riding Sorcerer and goes down, and with that, the battle is ours. Lovely. Alright, well, no problem at all. The column is destroyed. I do believe the enemy army was in range. The enemy column was in march stance as well, so it should die no matter what. Zatan does manage to escape, but alas for him, that doesn't mean he will actually escape. Alrighty, there we go. So falls the commander of the Tower of Zharr in an ambush, an unexpected ambush, and it's a bit unfortunate that we got his amazing defeat trait on this random lord, but I guess this means Ulfar Dammon will be an artillery-focused lord, huh? Would have been a preferable on an overseer or a guild engineer, but we'll just modify this army slightly and it'll work. Alrighty, and Skofzharr will indeed sally out of Skavenblight with all those Storm Vermin, Plague Monks, Death Runners, Poison Winds, Death Globes, Hell Pits, Doomwheel, and Warp Lightning Cannons against the all-minor army of Brock Ironpick. How well this is gonna go? Anybody's guess. The auto resolve says heroic victory, but it might be underestimating the Skaven. They have a Warpstone Doom Rocket, and we don't have an easy way to reach the Death Globes, which can probably kill off or at least heavily damage a minor unit with a single volley. Alright, basically, this is gonna be fun. Go. Did I quick save? Let's double check, just in case, you never know. And then we go. Alrighty, here we go, heading up that hill with only the corrupted Skavenblight to guide us. Let's see if the miners can pull off a battle against the elite garrison of Skavenblight and, bring us a victory effectively against Clan Skofzharr. We're going to start the battle off with Vanguard deploying our miners, chucking blasting charges at whatever units we can. The better The more storm vermin we bring down here, the better before they close the distance. Looks like a decent bit of damage on the plague monks, which are fortunately lightly or unarmored, and thus we should be able to fairly severely damage them. Although the heavily armored storm vermin, maybe not so much, only about 10% damage on them so far. And of course the enemy has a way to fire back with something even more damaging than blasting charges, as the death globes continue to rain down on the miners, and well, this unit is pretty much destroyed already. Fortunately, we do have a fair few of them, and at least some of them should be able to make it past the enemy line and close the distance with those enemy death globes. Alright. And here come our units of Iron Drakes. Of course, they were not Vanguard deployed like the rest of our miners were, unfortunately. But what can you do? Hellpit Abomination is still fighting away, and we're about to close the distance, but want to try to chuck at least a few more blasting charges into the main blob of the enemies here. Gonna buff ourselves up with the rune of Oath and Steel, at least to, you know, increase the armor on the miners. And the melee defense is nice as well, which they've got in pretty good shape. State, whatever. Death Globes still occasionally firing away at us. The enemy Hellpit Abomination is still in the fight, and it looks like it's time for the enemy nuke. There are 2 units of miners fighting 3 units of enemy elite, 2 storm vermin, and 1 2 storm vermin and 1 unit of, I believe, plague monks, and it looks like all 5 units, 2 of ours, 3 of theirs, were effectively destroyed by the nuke. The enemies still have a little bit more, while 1 of our units of miners was completely annihilated, and this one's pretty much done for as well. I always am amused by the fact that the AI is always super willing to drop a nuke on its own units as long as it kills off a few of the players' units. Although it is absolutely lorefully accurate, it is absolutely what the Skaven would do. At the same time, the player would generally not do such a thing unless it was dropping a nuke on the on Skaven slaves or something, because obviously the player actually wants to preserve its own troops. Although, admittedly, this is Skavenblight, and it's pretty critical that the enemy wins this battle, so this does make sense for them. Anyway, after that nuke, the bounce power is still hovering about 50%. The Hellpit Abomination still surrounded by by our Lord and his summoned ancestral shield bearers, which have been doing a lot of work, and at last managed to bonk the big boy apart. Our Iron Drakes have also closed the distance, and by dropping the nuke on the other units, that means we have 3 units of completely full HP Iron Drakes in the midst of the fight. Even should all the miners get brought down, all their head candles get stolen, the Iron Drake should be able to carry the day in theory. And it does look like the bounce of power has now started to shift in our favor. The battle, of course, is still happening, especially where there are no Iron Drakes to take the brunt of the damage from the Storm Vermin and the other high damage dealing units. But we're getting there, slowly but surely, grinding the Skaven down. Here, a unit of Storm Vermin has defeated a unit of Miners. We should probably not be surprised by that. Even with the armor piercing of the miners, while the enemy halberds are also armor piercing. I would imagine that maybe a unit of miners with our buffs could win against a storm vermin with sword and board one-on-one. Maybe due to their comparative lack of armor piercing compared to the halberds, but not like this. Though this was admittedly still relatively close, so a good job to the miners there. Alright. And it looks like, maybe 5 of our miner units are pretty much destroyed. I think only 1 is just completely dead due to that nuke wiping them off the map. But several of them are extremely heavily damaged.
Now is the season of our discontent.
That was the season of our discontent. Okay, there we go. With that, it looks like the Skavenblight garrison will give up, and the battle is ours. Definitely took some doing, definitely took some hurt doing it, but it worked out. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4... 5 routed. 6th is missing, and then we got another 1, 2, 3, 4 super heavily damaged at like 15% of their HP, actually 5. Alright, so basically every single miner unit. Yeah, one of them had decent HP, and that's, no, 2 of them, well, this one had half HP, and then the rest were all damaged or pretty much destroyed, but the Iron Drakes, and the Iron Breakers were completely fine. Now, we gotta do our best to try to chase the enemy down, drop a few more of those blasting charges on them. We can see how relatively ineffective they are against the heavily armored storm vermin compared to other units, but that's as it should be. And hopefully this will allow us to auto-resolve and take Skavenblight, assuming that the map doesn't immediately move us away somewhere, which is still a possibility. Ooh, alrighty, there we go. We did manage to pull it off, though. We got 2 units that are good HP. 1 unit got completely wiped out, of the miners at the very least, not so much the Ironbreakers. Admittedly, they also came late to the battle due to the fact that they don't have Vanguard deployment like the rest of the miners do, but still pretty good. And this miner unit got nuked, but somebody was always going to get nuked. Somebody always gets nuked. It's just real life. Anyway, the 33,000, 21,000, and 27,000 damage on the Ironbreakers, 20k, 13k, 20k, and, you know, various different sort of damages dealt by the various miners as well. As to whether we'll be able to auto-resolve what remains of Skavenblight, either way we'll be able to attack them, but yeah, we should be good. Well done, Brock Ironpick. Oh, but watch Mad's map take us out of here immediately after this. I would be amused by it. Alright, here we go. This is another one of the battles that I was waiting for. We got 2 full stacks versus our slowdown army. This army has not struggled in any way, shape, or form against any other army that's been sent against them, but this could be difficult for them. Very difficult indeed. We will, I guess we're about to find out. Quick save. Let's see how it goes. Alrighty, for the ancestors indeed, and in the underway as well, which means that despite the fact that the enemy has huge numbers on their side between the 2 armies, one coming in as reinforcements, they're still really going to struggle against this army, at least in this particular situation. The slowdown army may be disadvantaged against big old blobs of enemy range units in particular, but in the underway, as we've seen before, as we saw with the Axe Storm army previously, we can make up for that without too much trouble. So, away we go. Looks like we're going to start off by obliterating as many of the enemy ground missile infantry units as possible, while our units of Outriders harass the enemy army, specifically trying to target all of those flying deck droppers. Now, let's see, deck droppers, okay, I'm trying to find the 77 missile strength, pretty darn solid, not quite as much as our Outriders, but still pretty darn solid. You gotta remember that deck droppers were kind of laughed at as terrible units when they were introduced, especially in vanilla. In SFO, they're pretty darn nasty. The handgunner variant in particular, very nasty, but the pistol variant has its uses too, especially for chasing enemies around. I really do enjoy using the deck droppers when playing the Vampire Coast. And the flying handgunners essentially are quite a powerful unit because they don't have to worry about the angles or getting charged by cav or anything like that. And then the bomber variant is also really strong as well, but it wouldn't work very well in this particular situation as, well, frankly, I'm not sure anything is going to work particularly well in this particular situation because this army of ours is just that nasty. Anyway, looks like 2 out of 3 of the deck droppers have been destroyed. The reinforcements are now making their way onto the battlefield. The last of the deck droppers in the process of getting gunned down by those Outriders. And I do love to see them fire their guns with their sort of repeating blasts. It's pretty nice. And listening to them as well. Anyway, looks like the first army is pretty much destroyed at this point. How are we doing for ammunition on our grudge throwers? Pretty good, about a quarter, maybe 15% of the ammunition gone, but of course we have a fair amount of restock in this army as well, and the enemy has barely started to cover the distance. I fear that they won't do much better than... I don't remember who the Axstorm army fought. I think it was the Orcs in this exact same situation. Yeah, it was the Orcs, and yeah, I don't think these guys are going to do any better at it. Alright, now we're starting to slow down those poor animated hulks. Even if the grudge settler, grudge throwers aren't going to be particularly effective at killing off big old monstrous infantry, what they are still effective at is slowing them down. Like here, 5 movement speed on that poor vampire fleet admiral between the suppression and the rocks being thrown. He gets brought down with ease. Lovely. Alright, and the battle is very nearly ours. Again, this is the advantage of going near an enemy settlement while an underway stands. Sort of pro tip for using the dwarfs on the campaign. Rather than besiege, it is often at times advantageous when the enemy has a full stack in its garrison to just essentially underway right beside the enemy settlement. The AI will sally out and then be forced into an underway battle, which is generally speaking nearly always to the dwarf's advantage. Looks like some sirens did manage to creep up on us at least a little bit, as they do have that stalking. But now that we can see them, we can slow them, and the first unit at least is crumbling away. I think the second one is probably hidden again. No, it's still unhidden, but it'll probably go hidden shortly. And sirens are immune to contact effects, so they're not getting slowed down by anything, but they are moving fairly slow now that they're crumbling. Well, 38 speed, not super slow, but certainly not fast enough to catch the Outriders with their 112, 13 speed. And of course, we move up our engineers just to have them spot these sirens for us. I didn't remember whether there were more ghostly units or something like Mourngul Haunters in there, and that were Mournguls generally speaking, and just wanted to make sure that we would be able to spot them with our engineers. Otherwise, the Bounce Bower is still surprisingly in the enemy's favor, but I fear it's just the... what the heck? What was that? Wait, where's the enemy lord? Did he disappear? Oh, wow, what the heck? That was a very strange looking charge forward. Huh. Is he speed... What the heck? What is that? How is he doing that? Huh. That was very strange. It might be some kind of interaction with the fact that we're slowing enemies down so massively. Like so. Those depth guard getting torn to shreds, 5 movement speed on them. Such an elite infantry force that can do absolutely nothing. It's disgusting, and I love it. Alright, the enemy is, what, maybe just about halfway to us. And the Bounce Bower is at about 70% in our favor now. The Outriders are still working. How's their ammunition? Nearly half. And they're certainly racking up their kills. And with the presence of the Outriders over the heads of the Outriders are now dishing out more damage. So it's not just the grudge throwers. Man, that monstrous impact and suppression combination is absolutely disgusting. I remember having a lot of fun with it in my Elspeth campaign last time with when the cannons get monstrous impact for the Empire. I don't believe the Empire cannons have monstrous impact in SFO, but they did in Vanilla, and maybe they still do. And we essentially had a very similar type of army there. But I would think that the Grudge Settler Grudge Throwers are actually the superior unit in that regard. Certainly the Grudge Settlers can kill more blobs of units, and we have plenty of other units to do the sniping, as we can clearly see. Anyway, with that, the enemy army begins to crumble away. Vampire Fleet Captain and Admiral alike have fallen, not to the depths, but be buried in the deeps, and we'll now just chase down the last unit, the Sartos Pirate Mercs, that are still remaining here. And down goes the... so sometimes the freeze frames are pretty darn good. Beautiful. All right, never mind. The underway battles give this army too big of an advantage. It becomes too strong when the entire enemy army is forced to be funneled down that choke point. We saw the same situation happen, I don't know, like a couple of episodes ago with the Axestorm army, where we forced an underway battle there, and even with only 2 of the Grudge Settler Grudge Throwers, we were able to cause absolute havoc. Here, the combination of 5 Grudge Settler Grudge Throwers and the Outriders being extremely irritating and sniping everything single thing at the front of the line meant that the enemy stood no chance whatsoever. And, well, still, good job to all of the slowed down armies units. Oh, and the Khornates will also sally out of the, of Karak Peak, eh? Well, that's not bad. I'm quite interested with all of the Blood Crushers, the 4 Blood Crushers, 6 Minotaurs, a Soul Grinder, a Skull Cannon. There's a lot of good stuff in here. As to whether the enemy will be able to hold back the, or deal with the firepower of our famed and like the Del Nolas units of Bolt Throwers, I guess remains to be seen. Let's quick save and then let's pop on in to see what they can do.
We will have vengeance.
Alright, vengeance indeed, Grimly. Let's see how we do against this pretty darn solid Khornate stack, and they've got certainly a decent amount of units that could threaten us. Let's see how many of them make it to us under fire from our bolt throwers. 2 out of the 4 units of 3 out of the 4 units of the skull cannons have been destroyed. They do manage to get 1 shot off and hit us. Not quite amid the unit, but do a little tiny bit of damage to Grimly's sure shots, but alas, that was the only shot that unit is going to get off. Still, lots of other units are charging towards us, and it may not be Slaanesh, but the Khornate forces are still pretty darn reasonably quick. I expect we'll be able to bring down the Soul Grinder, maybe knock out at least a few of those Minotaurs, but by the looks of the sheer amount of enemies that are on the approach, a fair few are going to make it to us, especially on the right flank, where it seems the enemy has concentrated 4 units of Minotaurs of Khorne, and we even have 2 units of Blood Crushers moving on in. Does look like our Longbeards are going to have plenty of time to play, and it's not just going to be the range units, which is hardly surprising since Grimly uses a hybrid army. And with those Longbeards with great weapons. Alright, looks like the first of the Skull Crushers crash into the senior citizen here, Blood Crushers rather, crash into the senior citizens. And the senior citizens are extremely upset about it. Alrighty, Grimly's Grumbling Guard about to get hit by a unit of the Exalted Bloodletters. Of course, we do have charge reflection on all of our Longbeards now, thanks to our technologies, and it looks like that's pretty good. More Bloodletters are moving in together with the Minotaurs this time. Of course, the Minotaurs are being focused down by the Quarrelers. And they are starting to try to work through our units of Longbeards, but we buff everybody up. So Stand Your Ground plus Master Rune of Oath and Steel gives the long story shorts here, for example, 182 armor and 149 melee defense. So good luck to the enemy, even with the massive 76 melee attack on those Minotaurs. It's not something that they can easily overcome. And almost likely, especially with that charge reflection, just take too long to wade their way through the Longbeards. Looks like the Longbeards have pretty much all taken about 10% of their damage in terms of their, well, HP. But that's pretty okay. Bloodletters are being slowly but surely torn apart, especially with the magical damage from the veneration of Smednir, the Kinglund Legion here. Nearly done with these guys, and it looks like the battle is very nearly ours. The bounce power at about 90%. Does look like a couple of the Blood Crushers do manage to make it through the gaps in our melee line. We do only have 5 melee units in this army, after all, to hold the tide back. But the regular-sized handbows here seem to be protecting Dal Nolas well enough, and the Blood Crushers are out. The Chaos Dwarf... Oh, I didn't even notice there were Chaos Dwarf Warriors in here. Well, I guess very soon there won't be, as they are running away in a little column formation, their shields away and just getting torn apart as they do. Perhaps should have put your shields on your backs if you're going to turn your back and run like that. Might be a little bit more effective at least. But anyway, obviously with that, the enemy army is shattered and the balance of power shifts fully in our favor. The battle is ours. Oh my god. there's just hats and heads. I can't even finish speaking. Lying on the ground. I don't know why this amused me so much, but the fact that they're sort of sticking out of the ground like that is I don't know. those big old hats of theirs. Anyway, with that, yeah, the battle's ours. We're gonna do our best to chase everything down. I think our various quarrelers and, well, actually mostly the ballistas were bolt throwers. There we go. Wow, Ruinous, come on, man. Knocked out the enemy minotaurs and they could not escape, and of course the demonic units melted away. Yet another heroic victory. Alrighty, well, it looks like the answer to that question was a resounding nope, as the Minotaurs and the other large units had a very, very difficult time. And even though some of them were able to run the gauntlet and not get shot down by the units of bolt throwers, they were promptly obliterated by the quarrelers and the great weapon longbeards. So it's a really solid army for Grimly. There's a good reason why he's a legend. Anyway, occupy. Oh, it looks like the Lamian Sisterhood actually want to fight King Azrael directly. Bad idea. You should have really waited for the reinforcements to come in. Yes, our army may be damaged due to the auto-resolve, but it's not so damaged that, well, I guess you're about to find out. Anyway, we will get to you that Ranger Standard and Wailing Banner on... We'll say put it on... Well, I guess one of these guys could have it. They don't cause fear or terror. Yeah. Frankly, I would like it on King Azrael, but he needs the magical damage, so it is what it is. Anyway, I think this will be another fun fight. Man, this is a heck of a long end turn, just like last episode, and lots of good fights still. I'm absolutely loving it. And, well, let's see if the Lamian Sisterhood can achieve something with the advantage that they decided to take from us being damaged. Go. Alrighty, here we go. Can't miss out on this fight. I mean, Azrael does love fighting his hordes of undead, and we've certainly got undead to spare with a little bit over 2.5 stacks, while we are still fairly damaged, or in particular, some of our hammerers are at half HP, and our frostworms are half HP as well. So, unlike previous battles with this particular army, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the hammerers and the frostworms, or at least the 3 of them, back with the main army because they're damaged and they can't quite wade into combat like they normally might. However, Grimly's, or Grimly, King Azrael's Valor Guard will still move in with him, as they are sworn to follow him into the thick of the fighting, into the most dangerous of places. And of course, one of the Frostworms, the Ice Drake here, has a decent amount of HP, only 90% damage as opposed to 50 or 60% damage, unlike the others. So pretty happy about that, and that'll let these guys fight. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit while the enemy starts making their way towards us. And kind of milling around. Interesting. I see that they're kind of sending a lot of infantry to the flanks. It's almost like they're trying to avoid the flame cannons. And anyway, they may try to go around to the flanks, but Grimly... I keep saying Grimly because we just had his fight, but Azrael is wise to that. Probably senses the undead moving around. And we'll send his Valor Guard and the Ice Drake in to start in the battle off. We got wolves and bats over on this side, not just small bats, but big bats as well, as the Vargeists will touch down to support. Now, the regular bats and the wolves are going to have a pretty bad time against the Ice Drake because it has a reflection, melee damage reflection, as well as that lovely... a lovely little mini Mortis engine effect. And the Vargeists, in the meantime, are already... down by about 25% of their HP, but they'll drop pretty darn quick as they get closer to the Valor Guard once they're done with the enemy bats and wolves. Alright, and there we go. Vargeists are moving in quickly down to half of their HP now, getting their armor sundered, frostbitten, so they, well, good luck escaping this one. And with that, they drop down to 10% HP and are pretty much done for here. Beautiful. Alright, in the meantime, the enemy is starting to at least move around. We are going to repeat the same situation over on the left flank, where we got 2 more units of wolves, and we're going to charge them, or preemptively charge them, I guess, a little bit before they charge on in and tie up any of our lines. Again, even with our hammerers and our frostworms pretty heavily damaged starting in, or going into the battle, and the the direwolves rather are pretty darn fragile, and we should be able to tear them apart so that they don't tie up our lines. Alright, beautiful. And it looks like the enemy lord will start to move towards us. As to whether she can dodge sufficient shots remains... Nope. That's a big nope. Alrighty, well, there was an attempt. It did not go well. We got more units coming in, and oh, that Vargulf, you should not have stood still for that one, getting hit with the flames from those Grudge Settler cannons. Now starting to move, but it's probably shouldn't have stayed still even for that amount of time, especially as a couple more hits will bring you down. And we're not even trying to target it. This is the flame cannons and their crew's own decision. I guess they wanted to go after the big old target. Which kind of makes sense. You're going to silhouette yourself as a big old walking target on a hill like this, so the artillery crews are probably going to try to target you. Anyway, Azrael and his Valor Guard continue to move through the enemy army, charging towards the enemy, heedless of what else is going on throughout the battle, while his main force holds ground. And the cannons will keep firing, but soon we'll probably have to actually tell them what to target so that they don't target Azrael or anybody who blobs up around them. Otherwise, we've got, speaking of blobs, a decent pile of enemies massing on the left flank, and we're going to do our best to hold them off. It looks like the enemy lord, the second enemy lord, the one that didn't charge into the gunfire, is charged on in as well, and gets bowled over by our Frostworm, while his minions are getting bowled over by Azrael, who's in here somewhere, and the Valor Guard, who he is once again led deep into the enemy lines. And there we go. I do love watching these guys fight. Azrael is looking perfectly okay. The Frostworm distracting the enemy lord a little bit, and there we go. We've spent long enough in melee now to summon the Ancestral Shield Bearers. I think you have to spend 2 minutes in melee or something like that to summon them. It takes a fair while. But it's all good, because they're here to help. And as we can see, we have not been dropping flames on this blob, so we're not relying on that. Just good old-fashioned hammering and the runes of Gazul. Otherwise, it does look like the enemy has made it to our lines, which doesn't always happen, or rarely, let's say, happens in this particular army, but we have enough enemies to make it towards us. It is one of the reasons why that in this particular army I decided to only get the flame cannons but not use the iron drakes, so that unlike other fire armies, unlike the Jartrom clan's latest iteration under Joseph of Zorn, the enemies that Azrael fights are likely to close the distance, and the reason for that is because I wanted to make sure that we got to use the Frostworms and the Hammerers, which I think worked out well. I think it's a very fun army composition. And there are a fairly decently sized fairly big pile of enemies that we still gotta fight. Bounce power, however, is very much in our favor at about, let's say, 75%. Our units of Drake guns still firing essentially point blank, and an unspottable unit of Morngulls does manage to close the distance and crash into them. But they're already pretty damaged, and frankly, the enemy's not having a good day anywhere, either on the main line or where King Azrael is still tying up so many of the enemies. 2 units of Crypt Horrors, tons and tons of melee, but he and his Valor Guard are still holding them back. We essentially split the enemy army in 2, wherein half of them went for our main force, and then the other half have been trying to fight the Valor Guard. And I do believe at this point that Azrael has killed off the enemy Strigoi Lord, and, well, he could probably go for the Necro. Technically not undead, so he's probably focused on these guys a little bit more. With good reason. And the bounce power shifts to about 90% in our favor. I saw that the enemy are beginning to rout and crumble. The enemies on the right flank, or their right flank, our left flank, are still fairly numerous. We'll cut them down one by one, or several by several, where the Drake guns firing shotgun blasts into them are concerned. Indeed. Alrighty, and let's see how our other units are doing. Our Stonebeard Breakers are doing pretty good. 284 kills. I imagine the Valor Guard, 417, doing even better, but that should hardly be surprising considering. Ancestral Shieldbearers got a few, but they were summoned only recently, after we had already done massive amounts of damage to the enemy. The Flame Cannons quickly knock out the enemy Corpse Cart, and it looks like with that, the battle is ours. Just a matter of time until we bonk the last of the remaining skeletons. Oh, like the corpse of the Morngulls. They're such great models. And there we go. Azrael and his Valor Guard are victorious. That's a big old pile of corpses in the center of the map, and another big old pile of corpses on the left flank, where the Stonebeard Breakers were able to hold the line. Though I do believe their Frost Room got heavily damaged and had to back off. That's alright. And yet another heroic victory. Man, every Dowie victory is heroic lately. Alrighty, there we go. A very, very nice fight for Azrael as usual. He led his Valor Guard into the most dangerous location on the map as promised, and they bonked apart many undead there with the help of one of the Frost Worms, specifically the Ice Drake this time around. The Flame Cannons did well, but they always do. The Drake Guns did well, but they always do, and the Stonebeard Breakers, the Dwarfs, and Hammer Time all did well to protect our range line, while Azrael was busy obliterating the dead and the front lines. Beautiful. We'll heal up. Alright, there we go. Blooded Wanderers and Third Host of Murder Confederation. I don't know who those are. Actually, I do know the Third Host of Murder. I don't know who the Blooded Wanderers are, but I suppose it probably don't matter over much anyway. Enemy killed in battle, enemy killed in battle. Okay, there's going to be a lot of these. Defeated Zatan, the Black... Oh, it's faction-wide art... Oh, wow. Huh. I mean... Our artillery is already kind of insane. We want it to be really obnoxious. We could just farm Zatan on like 20 lords and just, yep. I'm not going to do that because it's obnoxious, but nonetheless, it's certainly something that could be done. Victory, Creator, Constructor, Master Mason, Magnificent Armor, Borg, Beetle, Brow, blah, blah, blah. Alright. Ah, you don't need that. Nice try. Alrighty, what do we have here? Runesmith, Daughter of Alea, Miner, Daughter of Alea, Stonemason, Goldsmith, Gleaming, Warbanner, Settlement Besieged, Lubrecht. Faction destroyed. Festus! I kept you alive. And now you besiege this with your garbage little army that has no chance whatsoever. Oh, come on, Festus. All right, guys, I think we're just gonna let him go. This is not a fight worth fighting. It's pathetic. The likelihood of Ungrim reaching him is non-existent. So Festus, I'm just going to bid you farewell. Goodbye. Alrighty. And did this give you a plague? Probably gonna give you a plague from contact with Festus's army. Oh, it didn't. Well, we still have to destroy this army, which very well might give you a plague. I guess we're about to find out. Go. While I have you. And... alright. Go to Bosenfels then. Enemy killed in battle, enemy killed in battle, Doctor retired. Yeah, well, Reclaimer held Dower. Perhaps you, by virtue of having that trait, might become an actual army. I'm not so sure yet, but I'll think about it. Other Trickster Shard, Ending Volley, Daughter of Alea, Dwarf Bride, ready for duty, and technology researched. And we have the next technology coming in. And we're at nearly 160 million now per turn. I just want to point out, it took us 106 turns to get to 1 million gold per turn. Promptly took us 8 turns to get to 160 million per turn. Anyway, Brock Ironpick, you did well, buddy. Auto-resolve, quick save in case this is not the time for the crash. There is very little remaining of the garrison at Skavenblight. And we will occupy it. Like so. And there we go. The miners did get here, and despite Mad's map, we're able to take Skavenblight, which will immediately take up to tier 5. We don't need this. And we'll delete something, and then we'll... I guess the first thing that we'll do is we'll build the deeps there. It's... Oh, it only take 1 turn regardless of the fact that it's a red territory? Oh, that's lovely. That's absolutely lovely. I'm really interested to see what the unique deeps building is in Skavenblight. And I guess the same thing is true of Zharna Grund as well. But anyway, we'll have to find that out next time-ish, depending on how long it takes to get there. Anyway, with that, folks, we're out of time, and I'm going to call the episode here. Next time, we continue advancing. As we do, the realms continue to be reclaimed. The grudges are now being settled one by one. Azrael is on the approach to Silver Pinnacle, which will fall soon, I'm sure. Like so. And I imagine it won't let him auto-resolve this, so we will have to fight this again, most likely, because there's a solid garrison at Silver Pinnacle. I mean, it would let us auto-resolve this. Does this have a defensive structure? It does, so no, yeah. It wouldn't let us do a cinematic battle. I think we're not under any doubts that Azrael would win this. This would hurt his Frostworms, however. I'm gonna think about this. If we auto-resolve it, we could immediately just occupy it and then build up the thing for the million spawns, which would be a good thing. But yeah, I'll think about it. We got more stuff to... Hey, what is this? Go away. No. No. Away from there. Oh, and that also linked the capture of Kurak Peak linked up the northern holds. Really? Okay, obviously they have no chance with this. Not against Grimly. He just took on a much stronger army than this and obliterated it, so... there we go, and it looks like we can't reach it. I knew I should have summoned a follower lord there. I guess you could reach this, but maybe it's not worth it. It might be better just to occupy Beacon of Firengrom here and continue to advance in this direction. Having nearing to Fort Dwarslav now. You are missing a unit. Alright. Build a miner. I'd use the global recruitment, but, you know. Oh, well, I guess we could also get you a hero. You may be a follower army, but you could certainly use an engineer. We have a wayfarer and entrenched. You don't need the entrenched, so use the wayfarer. All right, that'll work considering it's an all-ranged army. It's still a reclaimer. We've got an auto-resolve army, but nonetheless, they can have an engineer. Anyway, as I said, I'm calling the episode here a pretty momentous episode, or we achieved a lot. Fantastic battles, linking the North Holds and the South Holds. Skavenblight has fallen and Clan Scryer is on the way out, and thus the next of the major legendary grudges. We will wipe them out in, I don't know how many turns, but I do know that they have 7 settlements, so at T-7 until that grudge is struck from the book for good, and no Skaven remain alive in this portion of the world. Oh wait, there's still Clan Pestilence. Well, actually, Clan Pestilence are not in good shape either, so that does remain the case. Anyway, like some comments below as they'll determine how long we keep going for. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.